actually make sense of all these different possibilities without driving you crazy. And the traditional religious belief systems, or a standard sort of cut and dried scientific materialism, none of these really lets you come to grips with all these out there possibilities that science and technology are going to make a reality. And I think that's the value of Cosmism, is as science and technology make our lives go crazy, from our current point of view, it gives a coherent way of understanding it, right?
And then you have a framework which will help you to manage this thing.
And transhumanism per se doesn't quite do that, because I mean transhumanism is about going beyond humanity as traditionally conceived, but where are you going once you're beyond humanity? Cosmism has a bit of a different focus. It views the passage from human to transhuman as part of a broader process of evolution that's been going on for a long time, and then it looks at the step from human to transhuman as a process not just of becoming better and better, but of becoming more and more open to and more coupled with sort of broader forces of wisdom and intelligence in the universe. And that's a perspective that I think is going to become more and more pervasive as these implications of advanced technology get more and more real. Now, whether what we call Cosmism or transhumanism or any kind of ism, that I don't know, but I think this complex of ideas is going to become pervasive, because it's almost the only way to make sense of all these incredible possibilities.
Yeah, and I think it touched on something in what you said earlier, which is getting better is a very important part of this ideology, because we're talking about improving ourselves, right? And again, there's a lot of people with traditional beliefs who argue, no, God created us, this is the way we should stay, or at the very least just allow natural evolution to take its course. But in fact, I am very much for improving myself. I would look at this idea and I would say, like, who doesn't want to be smarter, right? Who wouldn't want to be more intelligent? Who would want to have skills that they don't currently possess? I mean, who wouldn't want to possess knowledge beyond what they can already understand?
Interesting.
And I think this is probably an avenue that we would want to think about taking in terms of making it of a more popular movement, because there's dangers there, but like this is one of the upsides, is that you're making humanity. It's like H plus, right? That's what the plus part of it is about. So
I mean, James Clement had an organization called Better Humans for a while, and their slogan was becoming better than well, right? I mean, good health, as we consider it, is very limiting. I mean, good health just means you're dying and degenerating at the commonly accepted rate. But we want to be better off than the traditional sense of wellness. I mean, we don't just want to degenerate at the acceptable trajectory. We want to regenerate and generate new bodies, new minds, and become more and more and better and better. That includes more and more togetherness with other minds. I mean, it doesn't have to be just as an isolated being, I'm going to get superpowers, right? I mean, if you look at what we're doing with advanced technology now, so much of it is better ways to connect to other people. I mean, the internet came out, and first people thought it would be a tool for running computer programs on remote machines. Right. What it turned out is it's a tool for networking and connecting with other people in more and more intense ways. And I think brain-computer interfacing will be the same way. Yes, we'll use it to connect our brains to calculators and Google and computers and enhance our intelligence.
To each other.
Yeah, we'll use it to make telepathy a reality. You'll be able to SMS thoughts and feelings with your friends, which will bring people together in a much, much richer way than we can do now. I mean, it'll bring new frontiers in compassion and empathy, along with new frontiers in intelligence.
There's a reason Mark Zuckerberg bought out Oculus for $2 billion, I think it was.
Yeah, $2
because
billion.
He foresaw that people are going to want to connect with each other in exactly his fashion, right?
Yeah.
So you might have people who are against like merging, like my individual body merging with a machine, but they're going to want to merge through technology with other individuals. Right? And so, like we could have potentially like, super high res VR based Skype interactions in which You can be anywhere around the world, and it's like you're sitting right here next to somebody, communicating with them, and then interacting with them physically as well as verbally.
Yeah.
So that's also, I think, that also has great appeal. So for the people that like technology, for the people that are going to go out and be the, and be the what do they call those? The first trier.
Early adopters.
The early adopters of the technology. Yeah. I mean, these people are going to, I think, be very sympathetic to some of these ideas.
Yeah, I think that from a cosmist view, the use of, say, brain-computer implants to enable SMS telepathy, this is just an example of advancing technology leading to emergence of broader and broader forms of intelligence. Because initially, that's just people SMSing thoughts to each other, but a little further along, you have the emergence of higher orders of intelligence beyond what we can imagine today. And that this gets back to the marketing issue we were discussing earlier. Now it's hard to sell people on, hey, you can network your mind into the Mindplex super intelligent network and become part of a higher form of consciousness. But it's easy to sell people on, hey, you can SMS your girlfriend your thoughts and feelings, right? Yeah. So depending on how you look at it.
Or you can combine both things and sell your strategy as a way to achieve immortality. Because as a matter of fact, you can already send a brain-to-brain SMS, but the speed is very low. They have done experiments here from a lab here. I send SMS to your brain
very recently.
But it's going to be a few characters per minute. Now, the speed of the mind-to-mind communication technology can only improve. Now, assume that in 10 or 20 years we are able to exchange 1 terabyte per second of information from brain to brain. When that happens, really the boundary between my brain and your brain is kind of distorted. Because we are literally thinking the same thing. We become a group. Now, when people have the option to be part of a group mind, it's basically a strategy for immortality. Because when one component of the group dies, it's replaced by another one, but all the memories and all the experiences of everyone stay in the permanent memory store of the group mind. So we cannot say that now, but perhaps once we have operational brain-to-brain high-speed SMS, then people will begin to see...
Then you will be assimilated.
Yeah, which can be a bad thing.
Certainly privacy
which can be a bad thing, and also...
Privacy is dead already.
Ethical issues. How about if somebody will just go inside your head and understand all of your secret wishes? All the Freud basements.
The NSA is already doing that. They're just not interested.
I mean, if they're hacking cars right now, right, you can imagine hacking your own mind. I mean, we see like encryption and privacy as being very important issues now. These things are only going to be multiplied in importance once we get to like.
I think privacy is kind of dead. So I'm not too.
Well, look at the internet and the Facebook.
Good or bad, that's sort of the reality.
I think people care whether the government is doing it or Google. I find it very interesting that with the recent exposure of the NSA, like doing the mass cell phone recordings, that people get very upset by that, but yet they feel very nonchalant about Google having access to all of their email and all of their searches.
This is because Google doesn't have the legal power to incarcerate them.
That is true.
That's a significant difference.
That is true. It does not have a monopoly on the use of force. But that information is out there, and you have data persistence. Yeah. So these things never get deleted off servers. So your entire electronic history is always essentially going to be available.
And it's not only the U.S. government that has it. I'm sure the foreign governments are storing this stuff as well. So.
Oh yeah. And so I don't know. I mean, that would suggest that maybe people would be more amenable to it. I think you just have to have a free society where there's always you have to be able to opt out. So, I mean, this is this neural recorder that records and transmits.
That's sort of like how
I can turn it off if I don't want to.
In the U.S., you can opt out of having an ID if you're really concerned about privacy. But almost no one does because it's damn inconvenient not to have a state ID card. I mean, you can't get a credit card. You can't rent a car. So you have to just use cash. You can't get a bank account. So in principle, you can opt out and be anonymous in the U.S. A state ID card is not required in the U.S. Unlike in many nations.
Right.
In practice, that's essentially irrelevant because your life is so much more convenient if you do get the state ID card. Everybody does, and I think that's kind of how it will be.
Has there ever been a technology that was developed that wasn't used? Right? I mean, nuclear bombs might be the exception.
Yeah.
They were used very infrequently.
Right.
But I mean,
a technology that offers you convenience. I mean, there's a Dead Kennedys album, "Give Me Convenience or Give Me Death," right? I mean, they were onto something there. So.
Any bad technology, we should be aware. And say in advance, guys, this is the wrong way to do the things. Or any kind of innovation in technology is good by definition because it's technology. I don't think so. We should look at the things, how they connect to the humanity.
Well, he's not saying it's good by definition. He's just saying if it's there and provides people with short-term convenience at a reasonable price, it will be adopted.
It will be. So
good or bad, it's hard to define, and you could argue either way. But that's, I mean, I remember when cell phones first became prevalent, many people were grumbling, well, this will distract us from our lives. We shouldn't be always reachable. It will give us no peace and quiet. And kind of true. Nevertheless, everyone has them, right? So, I mean,
genetic engineering, I think, is going to be a real test of this because we're just beginning to see
no test at all. Look, as soon as you can get a DNA modification for your kid, it'll make them do better on exams. Then everyone will need it, right? Because otherwise, your kid is a retard compared to those kids who got it. What are you going to do?
If the decision is put in the hands of the parents, where they can control the outcome of their own children, it's not government.
Look,
it's not
the Chinese government will allow parents to get that for their children because they just want their kids to be smarter than everyone else in the world.
Once all the
Chinese kids are smarter than the American kids, is the American government going to say, by law, America's full of retards? I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
I mean, if you really had a world dictator, then maybe they could keep things at a certain level, but the world is too chaotic.
But I think you're still going to have variability in intelligence because there are different styles of intelligence. So, like, you have two parents who are artists, they're going to want their kids to be more creative. You have two parents who may be scientists that might stress analytical intelligence.
Right.
And there's trade-offs between these things. I don't know that necessarily you can ramp all of these abilities up to like an extreme level. Maybe in the far term, maybe not in the near term.
As long as you're within the scope of human beings as presently conceived, even CRISPR or other DNA editing technologies are not going to give perfect control over the intelligence of a child. You're going to have natural variation, but the baseline level of intelligence will increase a lot. And certainly, if you had people who weren't willing to edit their children's DNA in a scenario like that, their children would be just much stupider than children.
Everybody's going to want their kids to compete, to be happy, and so. I mean, people don't have a problem when it comes to eliminating the negative. So get rid of cancer, no problem. Get rid of diabetes or depression, okay, that's fine.
That's good.
But like when you come to amplification, augmentation,
some people don't want to get rid of death.
That's maybe an issue.
I mean, that's a counterexample, right?
Well, no, right. But I